What's up, guys? It's Arleman. Today I want to talk to you guys about some of my favorite leveling spots in Black Desert Online for, I guess you could say, close to endgame. Anyone who's level 56 or higher. Um, Now, the current meta, as everybody knows, is um, pirates. Oh my god, you gotta level up pirates. The problem with pirates is that while the money is great and the XP is good, definitely at my level at 58, it's diminishing returns. Um, this is level 55 to 56 group play. You can get there, um, via boat. You can do solo jungle rotation or in a party main rotation. The problem with pirates is, number one, it's overcrowded. It's way overcrowded, depending on your server. And people will fight for their spots. Jungle rotation, I mean, if you're looking for a fight, you'll get one at Pirates. The problem with that is that, of course, if you die, you drop you drop a portion of your coins, so you lose some money. While there's some place to repair, you can stack on your horse, on your boat. As far as loot goes, I don't know, it used to be a great spot, but it has become the meta, so I don't recommend it at all. Personally, I'm a huge fan of Valencia. Not only is it an amazing area to explore, but it's got a couple of really awesome gems. Now, as everybody knows, Valencia has the desert buff. You get heat stroke during the day, and you can get hypothermia at night, and you have to have the appropriate supplies to negate those debuffs. So a couple places that a lot of people like doing here that are questionable. Everyone's favorite spot is, of course, Gahaz Bandits. And this is a higher level area, 56 to 57. It's pretty decent, but again, since this is an area in the outskirts, it doesn't have to deal with a debuff, which means that it is, again, starting to get overcrowded. The nice thing with Gahaz Bandits is, of course, you're close to a town with storage, and you're close to an area with a villa where you can get a combat XP scroll. So, I really don't like competing for my farm areas, so I pretty much will fight in the desert. Lower level, Desert Naga Temple is a pretty decent spot, but again, it's close enough to Sandgrain Bazaar. You do have to deal with the desert debuff. Generally, you find a lot of roaming parties, and at my level, just the XP is not good enough. So, we have, moving on, we have Crescent Shrine. This is a spot that I enjoy, but again, sometimes it can be crowded, particularly in the anti-area. You do have to deal with the desert buff. Everybody also loves Desert Fogans, which, surprisingly, even though it's considered lower level than Crescent Shrine, the mobs tend to give a little bit more XP, go figure. So my preferred spot at this level is actually Pilaku Jail. It's out there. The mobs are pretty hard. You don't have to deal with the desert debuff. It's good to go during the daytime. Nighttime, your mileage may vary because, of course, nighttime increases the damage of the mobs. But some helpful hints for when you're leveling at this level is that, of course, you know that you have your daily grinding hour, your 120 minutes or 60 minutes of grinding XP. It's not the weekend, so we don't have the weekend XP buff. But even though it's not the weekend, you can still actually do really well if you manage your resources. So, in my head, yes, I know I'm breaking the set bonus, but I don't actually need the set bonus right now. I have a helmet with combat XP gain plus 10%, two of them. So, off the bat, I've got 20% EXP. Okay? As far as my pets, yes, it is possible to actually get pets with combat XP. I get another 3% here. So we're up to 23% bonus XP. Okay. Alright, and since the beer event is going on, I do have quite a decent stock of cold dark beer. That's another 20%, so we're up to 43% combat XP. And this can actually stack with milk tea, which gives you another 8%. So we are now up to 50. Where's my math? 51% XP alone, just from consumables and equipable crystals. And then don't forget, even though a lot of people, discount these, is these small EXP scrolls that you get throughout the game as turn-ins. I know in Heidel, you can turn in mountain goat horns to an NPC for XP scrolls. But if you pick up any of these scrolls through general play, lower characters, hold on to them, because all of your EXP buffs are additive. You just got to remember to keep an eye on them. All right. So already we're at 51%. Or actually, no, sorry, 56% bonus XP. Now, with that, we can go ahead and use the reward scroll. I prefer using the 120 minutes, simply because, as far as efficiency, it's just based on your time. You've got the 200%, 60 minutes. I just find that I seem to do better with the 120 minutes. Second major rule of being out in the desert is make sure you have a home base, okay? I'm in Altosa's cabin, Altosa's villa right now, and the villas are interesting. A lot of people question, their use because it costs 5 million for 5 million in gold ingots to purchase the pass, and you only have the pass for 7 days. But the nice thing about this is it not only is a really cool place to just kind of chill, you are safe from the desert debuff. You have a manager that can repair your gear. All right, you can repair your mount as well. You can buy potions. Okay, very, very handy. And you can also currency exchange for when you start to get heavy, convert your cash, your miscellaneous stuff into ingots. And of course, the ingots also allow you to buy the experience. So when you go to Scheherazade, it'll tell you what her... Now all of the villas have this. So if you look at what the buffs actually do, you don't automatically get the EXP. You just kind of have to look. So we're going for the Mercenaries experience. This is a 3-hour buff. It costs 300,000. You'll make that back in no time. So we are going for Mercenaries experience. Now there's 2 pages to this stuff. All right, so we're going to go ahead and purchase one. All right, so we now have the buff active here, Villa Combat XP. So now we are at 63%, not including what we've used. At least our equipable items and our consumables. So here we are at our mount. Now since it's daytime, I'm going to go ahead and head over to Pilaku Jail. Show you guys what that's like. And as you guys probably know, in Valencia, you do not have any navigation when you're in the desert, and you do need a camel to get around. Your horses slow down and they lose stamina very, very quickly. The only thing that kind of sucks about the villas is that they don't have stables. So, but I've spent enough time in the desert to kind of already know my landmarks and stuff to go. It really is a pretty amazing place if you like to explore. This side itself is actually pretty close to Desert Fogans, if that's kind of what you want to do. But Fogans is a really bad place to get your camel killed. Also remember that when you purchase the buff, you get it immediately. So make sure you know exactly where you're going and go as quickly as you possibly can. But lot of people tend to congregate around the pond area, and that's where most people end up fighting for the mobs. There's plenty of mobs spread out. Depending on how quickly you can kill stuff, you know, you can vary your area, which comes to my other point about leveling at endgame, is that don't look at the counter. Just set your time, level up based on your timers on your buffs, and then when you're done, get out of there. You know, don't burn yourself out. There's a lot of people that will sit there for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and grind levels and feel like they're not getting anywhere. There's a lot of stuff in the game. You know, take a break, enjoy it, go out there, explore, craft, you know, race your horse, anything. So a big takeaway with leveling endgame is you're not going to get big chunks of XP from anything. It's a combination of how much you're getting from an enemy and how quickly you can kill them. Now, Pila Ku Jail's probably not the most efficient for me at my gear score level, but it's fun. I don't get bothered there very much, and you know, it's good practice for me. But generally, you want to find an enemy that gives you, at the very minimum, 0.001% XP or higher. Generally, I don't recommend anything higher at this level, because if it's higher, it's going to be a lot harder for you to kill. But something that gives you a perceivable amount of EXP that you can kill relatively quickly, that's in large numbers, where you can fight unmolested. And that's kind of the big thing. Black Desert Online is an open world PvP game, which means a lot of the really good camps are going to be crowded, you know, and the amount of time that you put in, especially when you pop those scrolls, is going to be affected by whether or not you're going to be able to go through this stuff on your own. So take that into account when you start playing, when you really want to settle in. And it's generally not healthy to be grinding for more than 2 hours anyway. Alright, so we're coming up to the other village. Pila Ku is a little ways out there. You can see old Valencia Castle on the horizon out there. Now there's two entrances to Pila Ku. There it is. You have the main entrance, as you see right up ahead, and then you have the back entrance, which is right there. So it's generally better to go in the front entrance than the back entrance, because you'll have some place where you can park your mount. And as I said, when you're in the dungeon itself, you do not have to deal with the desert debuff. And by dungeon, I mean overworld dungeon. And there's a couple quests here too, you know, to kill mobs if that's your fancy. And also, you can see if there are any other people here, because there'll be camels posted. Alright, so we have arrived at our destination. Alright, we are going to start popping our buffs. We're going to pop my cold dark beer. Now, these guys are kind of tough, so I usually will use combat rations. Alright. Okay, and so I've got 29 minutes on my milk tea. It's not a big deal, it does overlap. Alright. Why not? We'll do Spirit of Earth, Presence of Earth. We'll pop our EXP scroll, and let's roll. Oh, almost forgot. As you can see, these guys are pink, which means they're about a level. There are a couple levels higher than I am. Now, my general rule of thumb is if you can't kill an enemy in 10 seconds, you're wasting your time. issues. It happens sometimes. Alright, anyway. So, as you see here, I'm at 45% of 471. I don't have knowledge on this guy, but as you see, he gave me 2, or 0.2. The way that it makes XP easier for me to perceive is that I think, looking at the numbers, I look at it as single percent. So the level is approximately 100,000 XP. And these guys are giving me, you know, roughly 2 to 3 XP. Which isn't bad. You know, I'm able to take them down pretty quickly. But generally, it takes a full combo for me to clear a pack. These guys become worth a lot more at a higher level. I mean, during nighttime, and of course, the big guys are very dangerous. He's throwing bombs at me. And Piliku is, like, there's good mob density. They will actually aggro you, and they're not slow. And some of them can actually stagger. The smaller guys can be staggered. As far as potential drops here, you've got the token pieces, which are Sailor. And these are worth, what are they here? They're 2,400 silver apiece, so not too bad. I have the node at rank 8. Now, there is some, I guess you could say, misinformation about nodes, because as you know, let me clear this guy first and I'll show you. A lot of people that say, oh, you know, node investment is broken, it doesn't work, I get better drops if I have none, you know, or a really low one, and RNG is RNG. I'm going to show you something that might make things a little easier to understand. Now, I haven't popped my, as you notice, I haven't popped my big XP scroll, because this is not actually where I'm going to grind today. Alright, so when you have a node activated, it'll tell you right here, the node investment, Piliku jail node, increased item drop rate. It does not, I repeat, it does not affect rare item drop rate. Does not, absolutely does not. It affects the amount and frequency of your trash drops. And if there are any trade items that are dropped, like for example, you know, the giant, like if you go to the Giant's Post, any trade items that the mobs can potentially drop, you'll get more of them. Like if you're in Hex Sanctuary, you guys might notice that you don't necessarily get more Witch's Earrings, but you'll get a whole heck of a lot of those Witch's Amulets. You know, likewise for quest item drops, things like that. But in my experience, that the gold item drop rate is independent of node level, which is why some people say, well, you know, I don't have anything invested, and I got stuff, and as soon as I invested, you know, I stopped getting this stuff, and all the evidence is anecdotal. And believe me, I've grinded in enough places long enough to kind of of notice, but you see these guys are pretty much dropping 2 golden pieces every kill. Actually, that's not the note. As you can see, sometimes they drop 1, sometimes they drop 2. The higher your node level, the more frequently you're going to get that extra bonus piece. So, does it make a difference? Yeah, it makes a difference. If you're farming cash drops. Now, the only place where it doesn't really seem to have much of an effect is pirates, which is kind of weird. Pirates is kind of a misnomer. Also, something about pirates that people don't really think about is that while it's free for cash between the turn-ins and the coins, you don't get any scrolls. And for endgame, you guys know that scrolls are life because they're the only way to get memory fragments to repair your gear for your level enchanting. So why would you spend your time? I mean, technically you can convert that money and you get pirates into purchasing scrolls, but with the current market, you're looking at, almost 2 million silver per scroll, and you need 5. So, generally not recommended. So this is Piliku Jail. And again, like, the big thing is just look at your buffs, look at your XP, how much time do you have to play, and what can you kill the fastest without being molested by other players. I mean, I'm sure a lot of you guys are looking at this and be like, no, how is this efficient for leveling? I mean, it kind of is and it kind of isn't. But, when you're mindlessly leveling, sometimes you like to fight things that actually offer you a challenge. So, and I'm in no rush to get to 60. I'd like to, but, it's just kind of like enchanting. You have to kind of take a measured approach. You can't be like, oh my god, I have to get this, or, ASAP. You really don't have to. The game's a sandbox. Play it at your own will. Oh, okay, hold on. Did not realize I did not have my XP. Here we go. My knowledge, but I still have a couple of guys who don't have any rankings in there. The enemies here can drop Sickley's Necklace, also, which is a 40 million silver item. Right. So this is Piliku Jail. Also, the jail itself is massive. Like, I'm just in one section of it. I like this area here because, I like the setting. Mob saturation is good. So that's Piliku in a nutshell. You clear these guys out, and I'm going to take you to one of the other spots. Piliku is definitely not something that's going to be accessible for people that are just now like new to Awakening, less than try weapons. Because even with my gear, you did see that I used a pretty good amount of food and buffs and stuff like that. So, as you guys remember, when we came in, we were at 471. We've almost made a whole percent of XP. I'm actually just kind of messing around. I'm not actually really rounding them up as efficiently as I could. to you what this area was like in the games. Now, this is also without the 100% scroll, so, you know, you can see how this would be really good. This is actually a really good spot, too, if you have somebody to duel with, because obviously the more people you have, the faster you can take these things down. 3 people would be ideal because of the decreased XP penalty. But I like it because it's quiet. You know, sometimes there's people here, but for the most part, it's a large enough area that people leave you alone. Your mileage may vary here. So let's see. So we've already killed over 200. Easily. So 471. So Pila Ku for challenge, an occasional profit. So we're going to go ahead and head out. Now, when I hit 59 and manage to, if I can tet my greatsword, this place will probably be my main grinding spot. Right now it's okay. You know, I like coming here because it's a change of pace, and that's another thing, variety. Finding variety in where you're grinding is a huge deal. Alright. So we're going to say goodbye to Pila Ku, but those are some of the advantages. It's out there. You don't have to deal with desert debuff, but it is high level. It is very, very challenging, and it's best done with a group of people. You know, you have Akhman Dungeon, which is much higher level, and those are accessible from portals in the desert. But since I'm predominantly a solo player, I get ruffle stomped in there. So we're going to leave Pila Ku. There is also similar mobs up here in the sulfur mine, but we are going to. I'm going to show you guys Tidum Valley, since that's pretty much the closest. Those are the desert Fogans. Now Fogans are pretty good XP, but if there's any place in the desert where you're going to have other players, it's going to be Fogans. Simply because for their level rating, they're really squishy. The only problem with Fogans is that they have ranged mobs, and I am not a ranged class, which makes them kind of annoying. There are ranged mobs in Pila Ku, but they're not too bad. They're pretty limited. There's only a couple of them. Now you go to some place like Crescent. Crescent is glorious simply because there are no ranged mobs, but you do have some elite mobs scattered through. There are actually quite a few elite mobs where if you're not careful and you're under geared, they can destroy you. I mean, look at that scenery, man. Gorgeous. So how do we know we are getting closer to Fogans? Well, one of the landmarks for Fogans is palm trees. And as you see going up here, we got some palm trees here. A little bit more, which means we are getting closer. Not quite there yet, but we're getting close. And we should be able to see Altos's Villa coming up on the rise there. Now, one of the things I love about Warrior is that while you're fighting, you can pretty much ignore the debuffs because your HP arcing spinning slash, I don't even remember what the hell it's called, but negates the HP loss. Alright, so you see all of our palm trees. Which means we are almost there. And this is definitely one of the coolest zones to explore. And I would love to do a video to show you guys the nooks, crannies, and all the cool shit they hide out here. Unfortunately, the video would probably be several hours long because sometimes I get wanderlust and I just go out there to see what's there. All right, so we're in Tidham Valley right now, and generally the place where everybody parks in the same place, which is by the node manager. Which is, where are you? Coming up to him here eventually. Though I am taking care of the debuff as I'm driving. Alright. There he is, okay. Also, if you're putting your camel here, I recommend you go up to the node vendor and you whistle for him. That way, I'm pretty sure to get them out of harm's way. And he's smart. There we go. Alright. So I'm going to show you guys the primary rotation. See if there's actually anybody here. I don't see anybody. So most people tend to congregate around this loop here, but alright, these are the guys I was telling you about, the Seekers. They're obnoxious. So, if you give me a moment, I'll show you. Alright. So, least common denominator in this is. Let's find a standard enemy here. Bogan Sentry. So, we're at 718. Come on. So he's giving us pretty much 0.001% XP, which is our bare minimum. Now again, mileage may vary based on your buffs, but with my buffs currently, and the red guys, the Fogan Fighters, yeah, he's only giving me 0.12, so right now, it's pretty decent. They die really quickly. But there's a lot of ranged mobs, so corralling them does become a challenge. I spent a lot of time out here on Dark Knight, simply because they have a lot more AoE spread for damage, very mobile class. Warrior, not so much. The problem with a lot of these mobs is they've got to do their stupid war cry before they actually want to start coming at you. And these guys drop the Desert Fogan helmets. See what I mean? The range guys, they're really annoying. Not a fan. They're kind of squishy, but still, they're obnoxious. But if you're looking for a change of scenery, the area is gorgeous. It's really, really pretty. So generally this is the rotation. This area here, kind of around the lagoon to the outside, is where a lot of people like to congregate. And this is actually a good area if you've just gotten your awakening weapon and you've got a friend, and you've got, like, say, pre-gear. This is a pretty good spot to level. Now you can get Cecil's necklace here, which is the AP and defense necklace. Just like anything else, the drop rate is pretty poor. But mob saturation is good. Respawn is actually excellent. Like, really fast. And again, that's one of the reasons why people really like this spot. You know, an alternative camp to this area is if you go across the lake. A lot of people don't know about this one, or actually a lot of people don't really care to explore. Let's clear those guys out of the way and I'll show you. Alright, so if you come up here, there's a path. Fogan's really easy to trip up. And if you come right back through here, you have kind of a little secluded area. While the mob density isn't quite as good, the mobs are a little bit spread out. There are some pretty decent camps as you get to the centerpiece. And you can actually park your camel up there and whistle for it. But this center area here has excellent mob density. But again, the ranged guys are kind of obnoxious. But if you can tolerate, and you see, like, these guys are still red to me at 58. Some of these guys are like pink, or not red, but pink. You know what I mean? So they still give a decent amount of XP, and they're super squishy, super squishy. The only thing you have to be really careful of here is that occasionally you'll have the Guardian, and the Guardian. You have Guardians in the game, in the Valencia area. There's this one, there's the one at Kadri Ruins. I think there's one for every kind of beast mob type tribe, but those are the ones that I'm aware of. And sometimes he spawns up here. I don't see him. A lot of guilds do them for money, but if you see him, don't engage him. He will wreck your world. But he can mess with your rotation here, because there's a lot of... This is a great spot to lure guys, lure enemies in to kill them. Alright, but yeah, he spawns around this area. You can't miss him, he's got like a feather head top, and he's a lot taller than these guys. But you can make a loop around the centerpiece. There's quite a decent amount of Fogans here. But just remember that these guys don't path that far. And of course, with the ranged enemies, you kind of have to line of sight them, otherwise they are just going to stay at a distance. I mean, if you're a ranged character, then more power to you. And also, if you head back here, there's a whole bunch of stuff. So as you can see, these guys are incredibly easy to kill. Alternatively, you can park your mounts back here if you don't want to do it with the center. There's enough elevated areas where you can pretty much park wherever you want, climb up, and then whistle for your mount, and they'll be safe. But so this is Foegans, Desert Foegans in Tidum Valley. Even though there's water, you still deal with heat stroke. Go figure. I know it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, but that's what we have to deal with. Alright, so our final stop is going to be Crescents. But again, I can't stress how important it is to have variety in places where you grind. You know, it's psychologically daunting to know that you've got to kill approximately 100,000 enemies a level. But it's something that you can do, you know, but you have to take your time, you have to go about it intelligently, and, you know, everything in moderation. Break it up a little bit. You know, there's so much more to the game than what the meta is. What people say, oh, you gotta do this, you know, why are you using that? You know, just because this is where I like to go may not necessarily be where you like to go. And that's totally okay. You know, but sharing information is something that's really awesome about these kinds of games. You know, the more information that you have, the more choices you have, which I think ultimately make a better gameplay experience. Likewise, as you can see, there are tons of Foegans out here, everywhere. So the fact that people tend to congregate in one area makes no sense to me. You know, there's Foegans everywhere. Just pick a spot and just keep killing them, you know? It's spread out enough. Another place where I've actually grinded these guys is at the pyramid. We're going to be passing the pyramid on the way out anyway, so I'll show you there too. But I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. Look how many mobs there are. They're all over the place. So pyramid's also a really good spot, although trying to find some place to park is kind of a pain in the butt. But yeah, I mean, you got all these Foegans. Look at the mini-map. All that stuff. But yet people want to congregate in one place. So, go figure. You know, Black Desert is a huge, huge game. A lot of these areas with mobs are just saturated. So, spread out. Find some place that works for you. Alright, so the last stop on our little safari here is going to be Crescent Shrine. And Crescent Shrine is... it's a good place. But again, you know, mileage may vary. Crescent Shrine has really good mob saturation in very small, in very concentrated areas. However, there is a lot of mobility involved going from place to place. And the respawn, as quickly as they die, the respawn is not as good as it could be. It's not bad, but as you'll see when I get there, I mean, I just mow through them. They're super, super squishy. Super, super squishy. So, I mean, when you look at that, you know, going up into those hills, you'd be amazed at what you can find. The fact that the developers took the time to make something so vast, and yet it's desolate, it's beautiful, and nobody's ever out here, which is kind of a shame. You know, you look at the density of the game, and everyone's either in the Calpheon area or at Pirates or Sawsons, and it's kind of sad. So as far as landmarks are concerned, I'm in the southern parts of the map, and the one thing you want to look for to get to Crescents is what me and my friends have lovingly dubbed the Stone Donut. Which, if you, as you leaving Sandgrain Bazaar, if you just hang a right and follow that mountain, keep the mountain on your right hand side, you'll see the donut. We are actually coming from the opposite direction. It's pretty prominent. You can see it from the sands as long as you're not too far away from the cliff line. You should be coming up to it shortly. As you can see, it's almost nighttime. Now, also remember when you're grinding for XP that nighttime is your best friend, because not only, while it does make the mobs more dangerous, they do give more XP. So here, so if you're able to kill the mobs easily, take advantage of the nighttime XP bonus. So as you see here, this is the Stone Donut. You can see it from quite a ways away. And in fact, even out in the desert sands, it renders before anything else does. So keep an eye out for the Stone Donut. You'll know exactly where you are. You'll be right at Crescent Shrine. Crescent Shrine is the closest high-level grind spot here. So it's not uncommon to see players, like see other camels and other mounts out here, especially during the EXP weekends. You see these guys are green, some of them are white, which means they're a little bit lower level than I am at my level. But as you can see, they just, my pets can't even keep up with the loot. It actually reminds me I need to search. I have everything here at a higher tier, so my combat XP back. So it's not uncommon for lower level players to farm the entryway. This is the elite that I was telling you about, because the smaller guys are very plentiful. These guys are also very fast, which means trying to corral them up is relatively easy. And the thing with Crescent that I absolutely love is that these guys don't tie their shoelaces. You can stack, you can topple them so easily, and they stay down for quite a while. The elites are kind of a pain in the butt because they do this like wrestling jump stomp where they get all red and powerful, kind of like the ultimate versions of some of the moves. Let's see if this guy will do it for us. There you go. And he can do it up to 3 times in a row, which can knock you down, and if you don't have the defense, these guys can really wreck your day. Alright, so if we look at our XP, we're at 951. Let's see if I can kill him. 952, so we're getting 0.001% on XP. As you can see, mob density here is great. Now, items that can drop here are Soiled Crescent Ring, and you can actually get the Crescent Ring to drop as well. And they drop a token of crescents. So I have this node at rank 10, and if you look at my loot list, rarely get an enemy that only drops. And the little guys almost never drop them. Occasionally, the big guys will drop a 5. I guess not this time. Alright. So, as you can see here, mob density, though don't be fooled also because a lot of those stationary things, while they do give you a little bit of XP, you can't really count them as far as the density of the enemies. But the front camp is a popular spot. If there's anyone here, it's going to be in that front area. As you can see, it's kind of thin between packs. So, roaming is a little bit of a problem here as far as efficiency, but the architecture is kind of cool, the setting's interesting. It does get a little bland though. I'm taking you towards the Coliseum, which is another really nice spot. It's close to the node vendor, not the node vendor, the node NPC. It would be awesome if it was a vendor, but sadly no. Crescent Shrine, it's a good spot. These things are very easy, but again, as you can see, the saturation, the mob density is very location specific. And these guys also don't path very far either. So, if you think about, at least at my level, the travel time that goes into rounding these enemies up, as well as how much they're worth, I was actually probably getting better XP over time at Pilaku at my level. These guys are dying in half a combo, and are giving me half of the XP, and I do have to traverse the area. So, but at nighttime, these guys with the increased XP could technically, if a good, if we find a good spot, if a good spot's open, could actually be better. Alright. So this is what I like to call the Coliseum. This one's kind of brain dead. You just basically run in a circle. By the time you get around, the enemies will respawn. The density here is actually a little bit better, but it's still like nothing to call home about. These guys still have to do the whole war cry before they even come to attack you. And since they don't path very far at all, you have to be really careful about running out of range. But it works just as well, As I said, there's no hard and fast rules for leveling. It just depends on what can you kill as quickly as possible that doesn't bore you to death. And that's Crescents. So I hope you guys found this video informative. Let me show you where the node vendor is. Node NPC. I don't know why I keep saying vendor. Right up there, node management. So if if you're newly awakening, I really don't suggest coming to Valencia. Valencia is definitely, it's a great place to explore at any level if you have the supplies to survive the debuff. But as far as grinding is concerned, probably the easiest place, you know, the Nagas, because those are like 55, 56, and then in this order, Fogan's Shrine, Crescent Shrine, and then Piliku. Now you can alternate Piliku with the Sulphur Mine. I'm not going to take you guys to Sulphur Mine because that's way too far of a trip, but it is closer to Valencia City, so technically speaking, you could base yourself out there as well. I know this video is a little bit on the long side. I hope that it was somewhat informative. Like I said, Valencia is probably my favorite expansion, simply because it is just absolutely breathtaking. You know, it's about the closest thing to a national park we have in the game. You know, you don't get vistas like this in the forest. That's all for now. Rollman out. Till next time.